Kim, and today I'm bringing you something different. This is the first in my series of how to process videos for art journaling. And today I am working on an art journal page, and my focal point for this page is going to be this Japanese lady, which is cut from an 8x8 pattern paper, from the 8x8 pattern paper pad from Stamperia called Sir Vagabond in Japan. And so I have fussy cut out the lady from the piece of 8x8 paper, and now in my art journal, which is an 8x8 art journal, I am going to create a background to go behind her. Now I'm just putting a bit of paper towel behind the page and next to the page because I'm about to spray and I don't want the spray to go through into other pages in the journal, and I'm trying to keep the page next to it also clean. The sprays I'm using are Salvaged Patina in an oxide spray, that's the blue, and the brown is a distress spray stain of antique linen. So I have sprayed those on roughly, and I'm also I'm mopping up the edges at the moment just to keep it tidy, and I'm going to spray this with some water because I want them to blend together a bit. I made a mistake by removing the paper next to on the facing page too soon because I'm going to spray water and it's going to splash ink up, and I'm going to spray more ink, and what was a nice clean page won't be by the time I'm finished. So my recommendation is keep a piece of paper on the facing page if you want it to stay clean. So you'll see there that I am picking the journal up and moving the spray around, and I'm also spraying water onto it so that it moves, so the inks move, because I do want them to blend together a bit. So I want some brown bits to stay brown. I don't want to cover them all up, but I want them to blend a bit together so it doesn't look like just these sprays of blue and sprays of brown. So as I said, I'm adding more water, using my heat gun, holding the book up so that the inks move. And as I heat it and I dry it, I add more sprays and more water, and you can see now that the blue and the brown are starting to blend in a bit more together. So I just keep working on that as I go. If I add too much water, I just use some paper towel and mop up the puddles. You can see that the Salvaged Patina is separating out with some green in it, which looks really nice because of course the oxides do that they separate out. So you can see I'm using my paper towel and just mopping off water as it falls down off the edges, and just keep hitting it with the heat tool. So you can see here I'm spraying more on, and you can see now I've made a mess on the facing page. So more water, more ink, mopping up excess water again, and then I'll hit it with the heat gun again. And now you can start seeing that really lovely green coming out through the Salvaged Patina. If you are enjoying my videos, whether it's these art journaling, my new art journaling ones, or my scrapbooking ones, I'd love if you become a subscriber to my channel. And please, if you are enjoying this particular video, I'd really appreciate if you pressed like. You'll see that I'm still working away at this. And it does take a while. This is I think it's 3 times speed. So it's quite a lot faster than what happens in real life. When you're drying pages too, I would recommend that you apply heat to both the front and the back of the page. And before we move to the next step, it is really important that your page is completely dry. So you'll see there that I'm touching it to make sure that it is dry, and I think I'm happy now that it's dry, and I'm going to move on to the next step. So for this step, I've got a stencil and a baby wipe, and what I'm going to do is use the stencil and wipe away some of the ink underneath with the baby wipe. Because it's water activated, when I put the baby wipe on it, it does wipe some of that ink away, and you can see now that there's a subtle grid texture in the bottom right and top left corners. And once again, I'm drying this with the heat gun because obviously the baby wipe is quite moist, and it makes the page wet again. So just heating it with the heat gun and making sure that it is completely dry. This is just a piece of paper towel. There's a couple of spots that I wasn't sure if they were dry, so I was just making sure that they were. Now what I'm going to do is I've got a stencil which is from the Sir Vagabond Goes to Japan collection, and I'm just going to highlight some of the Japanese writing from this stencil. I'm using a permanent ink because I'm not sure what else I'm going to do on this page, and I don't want it to smudge if I end up adding some more liquid products, mixed media products to this page. So there's just a couple of spots with the Japanese writing, and so I'm using a little dauber with my permanent ink just to pick out parts of that and create a couple of little clusters of Japanese writing. I have no idea what it says, but one's assuming it's appropriate considering it's on the Stamperia stencil. So again, I'm putting another one of these clusters up in the top left corner. So there's one in the bottom right and one in the top left. So you can see that I'm creating that those two clusters where I've had the stenciling smudged with the baby wipe and the Japanese text. Now I'm just going around the outside of the page with a burlap distress ink, and I'm just using an ink dauber, a bit bigger than a dauber, but the exact word's gone out of my brain, and smudging that around the outside. And you will see that I come back now, I've put a piece of paper down, I want that brown to go down that inside edge to create a full frame. So I'm just holding a piece of paper there and then inking down that edge as well. I really like how that dark brown has really pulled that page together by framing it, and it really makes the linen that we sprayed into the background, to me, sort of looks like clouds now behind the Japanese lady. Now this is a Tim Holtz floral stencil, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Prima icing paste to go through that stencil. But before I do that, I'm just at the moment using a permanent black pen to go around the edge of my lady, just to remove the white from the fussy cut edge. It just helps her stand out more from the background when I stick her down. So I'm not doing it perfectly. I probably could take more time, but it definitely makes a difference when she goes down on the page. Now, as I said, I'm using this Tim Holtz floral stencil. I want to create like branches of florals in that top left-hand corner that are sort of reminiscent of blossom trees. So there's some particular aspects of the stencil that I want to use. So what I'm doing is masking off the parts of the stencil that I don't want the paste to go through. And so this means I'm going to get a nice clear branch of flowers come out across that page. So, and by masking, it means that I don't have to be as careful with making sure I don't put the paste where I don't want it. As I said, I'm using Prima icing paste. This is white gold, and I am using a silicone 1-inch brush to apply this. Again, that's a Finnabair, Prima Finnabair tool, that silicone brush, and I love them for mixed media work. So I'm just pushing the paste through the stencil. It goes through really easy. It's nice and thick, this paste. See, so you can see there now I've got a branch of flowers coming across, and I think it just looks absolutely gorgeous in the gold. And I want to put a second one down because when I put her down, I think it needs more flowers coming across, but I need to make sure that that first application of icing paste is dry. So I'm going to hit that with the heat gun to make sure that it's completely dry before I do the next branch, because the last thing I want to do after getting a good impression is to smudge it. So I'm just hitting that with the heat gun. It doesn't take very long to dry. Icing paste dries really fast, which means you do have to be careful on your tools and stencils. Otherwise, when you come back to clean them, they will have dried. So just be aware of that. If you are using the Prima icing paste, it's great to use, but it dries very fast. So that's dry now, and I'm going to put a second branch on here. Exactly the same technique, bit of icing paste, 1-inch silicone brush and just push the icing paste through. I'm using the exact same floral branch but at a different angle. So this branch is coming off the first branch, and once that's applied, peel it off, and now I have a beautiful cluster of flowers in that top left hand corner. Again, I'm just going to hit that with the heat gun, make sure it's dry. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to use some of my new Tim Holtz liquid, it's the metallic wax, the new metallic wax product, and I'd only just picked it up from the shop, and so I was very excited to have a go at it. It's Foundry Wax, the distressed Foundry Wax. So I'm just putting a few drops out here, and I'm going to use my silicone brush to just smudge it in a distressed way over the dark brown around the edge. So it's not perfect. It's not meant to be perfect. Now you can't really see it here, but when I hit it with the heat gun in a moment, it will go really shiny gold, which is how this Foundry Wax works. So you apply it on and it's not that gold. It's just a bit dull actually, and it doesn't really stand out particularly. But when you hit it with a heat gun, that's when it changes. So as you can see, I'm just sort of applying it in bits around the outside edge, and I'm just going to clean up, and then I'm going to grab the heat gun and hit this page with the heat gun, and you should be able to see that going shiny as I work my way around the page. You can see the shiny gold coming out. It really changes color completely when you hit it with the heat. It is so pretty in real life. So you will see that in the close-up photos, which will be at the end. So now I'm ready to stick my lady down. I'm just going to use, I'm going to put some splashes on the background. It doesn't really show a lot, but I thought I'd see and mop that up. I possibly should have left it sit for a bit longer, but now I'm just going to stick and dry. You must dry every layer. And then I'm just going to stick my lady down with some wet glue. I hope you've enjoyed this video today. I am planning to get some more mixed media art journaling style videos up over the next while. So if you did like it, please press like. If you have any ideas about what you would like me to do or products you would like me to show you how to use, please put a comment and I shall consider it, especially if I have it in my stash. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you did enjoy this, as I said, please press like. It really helps my channel, and I'd love to have you as a new subscriber to my channel. So there's some close-up photos now, and I look forward to seeing you back again soon. Bye.